I was helped by friends to get over my wife's cheating. It all started with a Christmas party at our work. My wife and I work for the same electronics manufacturing firm, but in very different positions. Jennifer is the director of human resources and a board member. I'm Bill and work at a lower level, leading line maintenance teams. We met 17 years ago. It was Jennifer who told me about the position she was working in. Jennifer was promoted a few times over the years, but she really excelled. She was bright, hardworking, and deserved it. I'm really proud of her. The company Christmas party was held for the first time at a local resort hotel. The board members had access to several suites in a common room at the resort, so Jennifer went at noon to join her senior colleagues. I, along with the rest of the staff, joined the main party at 7 p.m. We all joked that the minions were let in for a few hours, even if we had to dress up in costumes to do so. It was quite a while before I finally spotted Jennifer. I have to say I was biased, but she looked absolutely stunning. She was just turning 38. Her long blonde hair curled into ringlets that framed her bright blue eyes and perpetually smiling pretty face. She must have bought a new dress and seemed. I also noticed a new silver necklace that looked expensive. I needed to reconsider the Christmas present I'd bought that morning. She was chatting with the senior team, and before I could speak to her, we were asked to take our seats at the formal dinner. From a distance, I could see that she was sitting next to the new CEO, Richard Jenkins. The previous owner had recently stepped down from that position to semi-retire as chairman of the board. I had to admit he was a handsome guy. I was a little concerned that Jennifer was smiling and laughing all the time. I settled in for a meal with the other team leaders. They were all good friends of mine that I had worked with for many years. I don't mean to brag, but we knew our stuff and kept our workload high despite the outdated equipment that the company didn't seem to want to update. The dinner was fine, and the drinks helped everyone have a good time, even if they were expensive in a fancy place. After dinner, I tried to meet Jennifer again, but I couldn't find her. When I finally found her, she said she needed to socialize later and left. I saw her dancing with the executive director, and it started to annoy me. By the time she came to talk to me, it was 10 p.m. by the time I saw her again. I was pretty annoyed. My mood didn't improve when she announced that the executives were going back to their living room so the employees could have some fun without the managers watching. I could tell she was uncomfortable. I had to watch you hit on another guy all night, and now you're leaving. Who did you buy that dress for, Jennifer? I've never seen this dress before. I must say the necklace is really lovely, and looks expensive. I didn't buy it. She stopped and realized her mistake. She bit her lip and continued quietly. It was a gift, so there's no need to ask who from. Do you think it's appropriate for your boss to buy you an expensive necklace? He's bought everyone gifts. He's very generous, and he thought it would be perfect for me. So he said he had to buy it. He has good taste. You have it too. Maybe I should ask him about choosing gifts for my wife. I could see her panicking a little. It's a private party, and you're drunk. We can't have you causing trouble. I'm not drunk, and we already have problems. How private is this party? Jennifer, are all the executives there, or just you and Jenkins? She blushed and looked embarrassed, but then recovered and went on the attack. I don't appreciate you suggesting something inappropriate between me and Richard. I noticed that she didn't completely deny it. I tried to calm down and find a softer approach. Jen, why don't we go home together and sort all this out? I can't. The entire management team is expected in the living room. I think Richard has plans for the team. Awards and speeches. I bet he has plans. When do you get to leave? Come back. I don't know. Probably later. We'll all be using the suites if the party goes late. I might stay the night. At that moment, I lost control of myself. Oh, you can do it. Do it and we'll be done. She quickly became enraged. She yelled something about me not controlling her and ran off. I watched as she joined a small group of managers and left. I was devastated. It was an understatement. Maybe I was a little. I left the party quickly, but she was so out of control that I ended up going back to the party the next day and sitting down before I knew it. I started telling my best friend Dan and the others at the table about what had happened. They were all very supportive and decided that the obvious answer to my dilemma was to get drunk. Some time passed, and people from other tables started approaching me. People started coming over to me, offering their sympathy. I asked Dan what was going on, and he showed me a social media page on his phone. It was a picture of us drinking beer with the caption, "From Christmas party to sympathy party." It was a pretty funny caption, but I was already drunk, so I thought it was a bad idea to post it, and it should be deleted. Just at that moment, A lovely lady from the payroll department came up to me and gently touched my arm. She said something about the CEO having a form for that, which didn't improve my mood. My phone buzzed, and a photo appeared on the media page showing Jennifer dancing very closely with Jenkins earlier in the party. The photo was tagged, "Bosses see close call this." This led to a flood of other photos. In the first one, they are talking close together, and Jennifer looks up with a slightly fascinated look. In another, she's touching his arm. In yet another, his hand is resting on her lower back. The last picture looked like they were about to kiss. I was shocked. I hadn't noticed this before our conversation. I had some lingering doubts about her intentions. The tags around the images became more and more explicit: unfaithful, cheating, a cheater, kissing her during work hours, dump her. I tried to drown out my feelings with alcohol at one point. I threw my wedding ring in the urinal, and Dan and I peed on it. We laughed and managed to make a short video without showing anything extra. The post got 400 likes, which is pretty good. I realized we could get in trouble, but I really didn't care. That's when I got the biggest surprise of the night. Jennifer came back into the room. She had been booed by those still left at the party. She was furious and stomped toward me. I remember thinking that her face didn't match her beautiful dress. She screamed at me, asking what I was doing, hanging out. My reply was that I was just sharing what she'd posted. She demanded that I stop. Well, are you going to tell everyone else to stop too? Jennifer looked around, shocked that everyone was watching her. She was determined to get her way. Now, clients can see these posts, and this is a disciplinary issue. Dan, my assistant, stepped into the conversation. What are you going to do, fire her? The whole production team was the only one doing anything anyway. Aren't you going to be busy with the chief philanthropist? Where is he, by the way? If it's so important, shouldn't he be here demonstrating his outstanding leadership skills? I didn't think Jennifer could blush anymore, but it turns out I was wrong. Maybe purple, maybe a shade of burgundy for once. She seemed at a loss for words, so I think it's time for me to share my thoughts. Jennifer, you didn't come to apologize. You didn't say it was a huge mistake, and you didn't apologize. You just showed up and started threatening my friends after our last conversation. I saw those pictures. I didn't realize I was married to someone who would cheat on me. So why don't you just leave and go back to your lover? Tell him that if he wants to fire me, I'd be happy to. The crowd gave me a round of applause for the first time in my life. It was tough for Jennifer. She cares a lot about her professional image. I saw tears come to my eyes, but I have to give her credit. She pulled through and recovered. I didn't do anything, and I have nothing to apologize for. She raised her head and walked away. She still didn't. I managed to look elegant doing it. I got home at a very late hour and was surprised to see Jennifer in our marital bed. I had enough sense to make it to the spare room before I passed out from the hangover. The next day was epic. Thankfully, Jennifer was long gone. I felt only slightly better even though it was Saturday. I received a message from the company secretary to report to work at 1. I thought Jenkins and maybe Jennifer would be there to fire me. I decided to go anyway, hoping I could avoid any problems for my friends. I was surprised to see Alan Roberts, the owner of the company and current chairman of the board of directors. I wasn't sure if that was better or worse, but he was a tough guy. He told me that the CEO and Jennifer had informed him of the situation and that the media page had been removed. He said it was a very serious situation and that the firm had gotten a bad reputation. He gave me a stern look and said anyone who posted anything inappropriate would be disciplined. I started to object, but he raised his hand to silence me and said this would be a verbal warning. I tried to quickly weigh things up, realizing that verbal warnings are nothing more than a warning. I said that they were just being supportive and were really good friends. I waited with trepidation for him to fire me, so consider. This is your verbal warning, right? I replied brilliantly. Nothing else. I asked uncertainly, and he just smiled, which was unsettling. There's something else, damn it. I knew it was too good to be true before I could guess what that something might be. He continued. The executive director was fired for gross misconduct and damaging the firm's reputation. I was stunned, wasn't I? That's why everyone, including the clients, yes, I found out about this. But I saw it as a clear provocation anyway. Customers aren't bothered by social media chatter. I'm afraid the misconduct was caused by him and your wife. I've never tolerated such behavior in my company. You should know that it wasn't just about the photos. Other executives were uncomfortable with how close they were getting. I don't like the guy, and I made a big mistake hiring him. The execs get a separate party and rub it in that they're special, which is pretty ridiculous. And that's before I even found out about his less than impressive business decisions and the fact that he was spending company money on personal gifts. Did you talk to her? I shook my head. I did this morning. I think it's only now dawning on her how wrong her actions were. It's up to you, but perhaps you should talk to her. She's suspended, and there's a chance she'll be fired. I need to do some more digging first. Maybe she'll make a counterclaim and blame it on Jenkins. Jennifer was in the lobby when I left, and I sat down next to her on one of the couches in the reception area. What now? I asked. She was sharp as a rapier, and I heard some sort of response, but I couldn't make out what she said. Then there was another muffled sound, and then almost a whisper. I'm sorry for what, Jennifer? I'm sorry for your behavior. I'm sorry for the affair. I'm sorry for what exactly? She blushed and burst into tears. I didn't sleep with him. There was no affair. It was only when I saw those pictures when I was sober that I realized how bad it looked. And when I saw what you did with your wedding ring, I was ashamed. You spent all day with it. You ignored me. You danced. You touched him. You left with him. You planned to spend the night with him. But you expect me to believe it was all innocent. You must really think I'm an idiot. No, it wasn't. You planned it, didn't you? I don't know. I guess I thought about it. The after-dinner drinks didn't help. I was drawn to him, but I tried to resist. There's a certain charm about him, and it all seemed natural. It wasn't a conscious decision to do anything. It just happened. It was the media reports that stopped you. Did they get you out of his bed? What? No, we weren't in bed. We were still in the living room. The others left, but then the manager called to say he was monitoring the media to make sure there was nothing outrageous from the party. We saw the messages but expected it to stop. It just kept getting worse, so we started to panic. Then I saw the video of your ring, and that's when I came back. Facebook saved the day at the very last minute. That's a first. What were you doing alone with him at the time? We were talking, maybe touching each other a little bit, and we kissed, but that's it. She said it like it was a victory statement, but I bet there was more than that. I doubt that night was the first time you two got close. There were probably small comments, flirting, and dinners over the course of a few weeks. She just shrugged in response. It's so silly. I just got caught, she said. I just wanted to flag that in all your explanations you never once mentioned me. It felt like I'd been completely forgotten and pushed aside. I think you're trying to change. Maybe you think you're better than me now that you're the director. If that's the case, you should have talked to me and we could move on amicably. But I don't want to move on. It's not about. I'm not saying I'm better than you. It's just a silly mistake. I looked at her and remembered the box in my pocket. I pulled it out, opened it, and held out the necklace to Jennifer. I was going to give it to you at the party, but I didn't get the chance. You had already accepted a more expensive and shiny one. She burst into tears, but I continued. Maybe you're telling the truth. Maybe you're not. Maybe you slept with him for months. I'll never know because I don't trust you. You can't be in a marriage without trust. It's not right. I didn't even sleep with him. Jen certainly didn't. Please, Bill. It's all a terrible mistake. I could lose my job. I've never felt as awkward as I did at the party. I feel the same way. I've never been so embarrassed of my wife. I thought I might lose my job, and I'm sure you're a terrible mistake with nothing more to say. I got up and left her crying on the couch as I left, feeling dread grip me. Where will you go now? Christmas music didn't help as I left the building. The season of joy was just then, when I got a text from Dan that he had tickets to the New Year's Eve party. And I was going. No excuses. I managed a faint smile. I had good friends and life went on. I just needed a plan to drink less at the party. As they say, no plan survives the first encounter with the enemy. 12 months later, I dreaded this moment. It was a Christmas party. At least I felt different. The party was at a local bar. No costumes were required. Drinks were free. Everyone was free to mingle, including Alan Roberts, who seemed happier than I'd seen him since he returned as chief executive after last year's fiasco. Then I saw her. She looked stunning in a blue satin evening dress and stiletto shoes. I caught her eye and got a radiant smile in return. She moved towards me and we kissed briefly. We finished the kiss and the taunts of former colleagues. As usual, the workers were a constant background noise, led by Dan, who I guess you could call the protagonist. I laughed, breaking the kiss. Who would have thought an accountant could look so good? She replied that the same goes for you, production people. I'm surprised you washed all the grease and dirt off your hands. I guess you had to do it. The accountant in question was Diane, who was pretty red. I met the head girl in the payroll department at the Christmas party the year before. We'd been dating for 4 months. It's funny how life can turn around if you can get through the tough times. I was now the production manager and a board member. This was after we had a tough year dealing with breakdowns and a previous lack of investment in replacement and maintenance. The guys worked really hard, and we managed to fulfill orders. We were in our element, responding effectively to every crisis. Alan Roberts was also in the thick of things. We talked about what we could offer. I didn't end up joining Jennifer on the board. She got demoted to HR advisor and left the firm a couple of months later. We divorced 6 months ago. At first, she couldn't believe I wouldn't forgive her. But when she realized I wasn't going to change my mind, things went pretty peacefully. You can even get divorced online now. That's enough about that. That was the story. It's important to learn from it and move on. So let's get back to making this the best Christmas party ever. The end.